Let's take a more detailed look at some of the controls in the palette. Most of them are easy and intuitive to use. Text and text area are straightforward, a single line or multiple lines of text. Email, money, phone, quantity, and number are simply text fields that enforce constraints. For example, you can only enter numeric values into a quantity field. The date control is very flexible. By default, it accepts a date. You can enter the date in a wide variety of formats, and the field will automatically parse it. The date can also be displayed in a variety of formats. Typically, however, leave this set to automatic, and it will display dates in the format that's common for the country in which the form is being used. The same control can also handle time values and related time formats. Or you can also configure it to collect both the date and time. Radio, checkbox, and dropdown are all selection controls. Radio and dropdown allow a single selection, while checkbox allows for multiple selections. Drag and drop any of these into the Form Designer. See that the Settings panel shows the options. You can set these options as desired. Options follow the format value equals label. If you do not provide a value, Frevo will infer one from the label. Labels can contain spaces, long text, arbitrary characters, and can also be set dynamically. When the form is submitted, it's the value at left that's actually submitted. Each of these controls also has a comment property. Check the comment checkbox in the Settings panel and provide a number of rows for the comment area. If you do so, the last option behaves like an other please specify. If the user selects this option, a comment box will appear below asking the user to provide details. It's a commonly used pattern seen in many business forms. You may have radios and checkboxes with many choices. Sometimes you want to lay them out horizontally rather than one below the other. To do this, simply click on the Style tab in the Settings panel and set the item width in percent. For example, if you set 33%, you'll notice that 3 choices fit side by side. Section controls are also straightforward. Drag and drop related fields into the section to create a group that the user can collapse or expand as desired. Sections can also be automatically collapsed or expanded using business rules. Now let's take a look at the powerful repeating control. Drag and drop a repeat control from the palette onto the form. You can drop any other control into the repeat. For example, a simple control like a phone, or a complex section containing many other controls. Whatever you drop into the repeat becomes repeating, meaning the user can add more than one instance. The Settings panel displays min and max properties. If min is greater than 0, the control becomes required, since at least one item is required. Max must be greater than min, and the user can create up to max repeating items. A repeating control automatically displays plus and minus icons, so the user can add or remove items. Test the form. Since min is 1, the first repeating item, in this case the section, is required. You will have to enter a last name, email address, and phone number. Click plus to add a second and a third. Notice that these are optional, so the form is valid and the user can submit the form without entering any values, and there's no visual indication that any control is required. Now enter something into the first name in the second section. Notice that the other fields in the section now turn yellow, indicating that you must provide valid data for the other fields in that section. As you might imagine, this can get very complex. You can even have multiple levels of repeats, meaning a repeating section can itself contain another repeating section, and so on. The validation requirements that this creates are incredibly complicated, but you don't have to worry about them. Frevo takes care of the details for you, and you can be certain that when the form is submitted, it's valid with respect to the criteria defined by the designer. A tab control simply creates multiple horizontal tabs. You can add and remove tabs and name them as desired. It's similar to a section in that it groups related controls together. However, only one tab is visible at any given time. A panel is simply one way to create multi-column layouts. You don't need to use panels unless you want to control the tab order. We'll discuss layouts in detail in a separate video. The table control is a powerful way to create grids. It supports multiple columns, and you can specify a minimum and maximum number of rows. We've discussed tables in detail in an earlier video. Drag and drop a message control from the palette onto the form. You can type any text into the message property. You can also turn on rich text to format your message using the rich text editor. It has all the usual formatting capabilities like bold text, various fonts, font colors, bullets, and so on. The message control also has a message type property. Experiment with the various types of messages to see what they look like. If you choose one of these standard types for your messages, Frevo will automatically format them, display a decorator, and lay out a nice looking message on all devices. Drag and drop an upload control from the palette onto the form. This control allows the user to upload one or more files as attachments. You can specify the minimum number of files, the maximum number of files, the maximum size of any file that may be uploaded, and the types of files that this control will accept. You can also dynamically name the uploaded files. When used on a mobile device, the upload control allows the user to take a photo and attach it, for example, a restaurant receipt or accident photo. The signature control allows you to create a wet signature. This is one of the signature types available in Frevo. When the user clicks anywhere in the signature field, a box appears and they can sign using a mouse, trackpad, or touchscreen device. Frevo provides a variety of signature options, including fully encrypted digital signatures that are legally compliant. We'll discuss signatures in a separate video. The other controls, such as Form Viewer, Combo Box, Page Break, etc., are not as frequently used, but you can read more details in the Palette Controls section of the documentation. Try dragging and dropping some or all the palette controls onto the form to see what they do. They're quite intuitive and easy to use, and you can see how Frevo provides you with a rich array of controls to create everything from the simplest to the most complex forms.